Welcome to the Kickstart Your Edge Play to Win Leadership Podcast,
where we've flipped the script with our groundbreaking modus operandi to bring you real, relevant, and relatable tactics and techniques to master your own play to win mindset.
Talk about a superpower. It's time to iron your cape.
What we know for sure is what got you here won't get you there.
You can't see the spinach in your own teeth.
And finally, hang on, because this one is really deep. Once you realize that you are the traffic, everything makes complete and unadulterated sense.
Welcome to the Edge, where playing not to lose is not an option. Oh my God, Karen, what an amazing week.
It has been.
Yes.
That.
So we have been in Vermont, right? So we have a place that we go to, that we ski at Mount Snow. And we thought it would be interesting to share some of Jenn's lessons learned on the mountain.
And take it away, Barley, because why? You were on the mountain.
I was on the mountain. Karen's foot is still recovering from a foot surgery. So the interesting thing about skiing and Mount Snow and having a place in Vermont is it's all relatively new. So I have skied maybe 3 times in my past, in my 30s, I'll say, out in California. And then we fell in love with Vermont. We got a place there right on the mountain, and it was time to learn how to ski. So I think it's safe to say that I have started skiing, I think it was at 56. Right? And I have probably skied a total of 8 days. What are you laughing about, Karen?
I'm laughing because this is just like golf, but with skiing.
How so?
Because of I'm new. I've golfed 3 times. But it's interesting to just hear your perspective.
Well, yes. So anyway, so I've been really focused this time and back in February when I was in Vermont on skiing and trying to get better at it. So I thought, you know what, it would be great to kind of reflect on this week of skiing, different things that I've noticed, right? So we can always take some of life's metaphors and figure out what are we learning along the way.
You know what's great about that too, Jen? I think that this isn't just about skiing for you. You are so good at picking something that you want to do, then doing it and doing your own deconstruction and looking at what worked well, what didn't work well, how did you show up, all that. So this is a classic example of like how you do anything is how you do everything.
Totally. So I think I'll just sort of share 4 key points of things that I've learned. One is the basics always get easier. So when things are unfamiliar, such as how to put on ski boots, how to walk in ski boots, how do you carry your skis, how do you navigate the ice, all of that is interesting because every day that I have gone skiing, it's all gotten easier. And I remember the first time I bundled up, got all my stuff. I was exhausted by the time I got to where I could put my skis on. It was just so much. I would walk slow. It would take a long time to do things. But now I'm like, oh, wow, that just was easy. Or I figured it out, or I have this little tip, this little trick. And I think it's about how one of the lessons learned is the basics get easy, or if we give them the time to get easy.
That's good. Perfect. And you know what? It's just that, and you're open to listening to the little tips.
Totally. And that was my second tip, which is ask questions along the way. So I went out yesterday and I'm like, man, my boots are so tight, but I really need to have them super tight because that's how you prevent injury. And so in my mind, it was you buckle that up as tight as possible. And then, but I got to tell you, my calves were hurting, right? So I asked Karen when I got back, I'm like, so what's the strategy of the buckle at the top of the boot? And it turns out they don't have to be super tight. You got to keep your heel in place. You got to be able to wiggle your toes, but then it's comfort level. So I had been over exaggerating certain things for safety that weren't really needed.
Yeah. And well, there's an important thing, right? For your safety, because you thought that that's what it was. But the interesting thing is that the more you loosen that up for you, that feels comfortable, that's going to have you being more safe.
Yeah. So it's really important to ask questions from people who have been there, done that. What's your experience? What's your recommendation? What do you suggest? So that was a huge lesson learned because in my mind, I thought I knew the answers that I didn't. The third thing that is a takeaway is always with life, at some point, you'll have clarity. So, what I mean by that is, I have been skiing the greens, right? And there's one long from the top of the mountain all the way down, completely green called Long John. And I will even say, even up to February. So, I went skiing in February. I do Long John, and it's very like, oh, I'm a little nervous, and this is a little bit hard. And, I can't believe that people ski other levels of difficulty, like the whole thing. I'd hesitate a lot, I'd rest a lot, all of it. The first time out this particular trip this week, I saw the mountain for what it actually was. And it was rolling hills. I can't even tell you. I can't even say it any other way. But when I really looked at the terrain and what was happening as I was skiing the first time down, I'm like, oh, I thought this was a lot steeper than it actually was, or more risky, or whatever the case is. And what I realized, it was my thoughts about skiing on that mountain that created the level of difficulty versus the mountain itself.
Which is interesting, Jen, because it's almost like you had, and metaphorically speaking, right, you have goggles on when you ski, but your initial goggles were almost goggles that had fear in the goggles. So you saw things much differently than you did when the goggles changed and your perception of everything changed.
Totally. Yeah, it was really, really impactful when I was going down. There's this really neat spot that has sort of a wall of rocks right there. And I was like, this really is not steep. It is not dangerous. It is a rolling hill that will lazily take you down if you choose to. So, yes, at some point, there's clarity. And the last lesson learned this week is confidence is key. And if you're wrong about that, it's time to pivot your confidence. So I decided to take a lesson, right? Only makes sense. I've been looking forward to having a lesson. I am self taught, so to speak. So I go to do a lesson. There's four people. Two people have, 6 people total. 2 people haven't shown up yet. There's 4 people. So they tell us to go ahead, the 4 people, to go up the lift and then ski down, and they're going to evaluate how you ski. So immediately in my mind, I am like, this is a tryout. Not just basically who do I get paired with the right instructor, but it feels like I'm trying out. So everybody goes down and I go down and I'm evaluating. I'm like, oh my God, I think I might be the best person of the 4, right? Or I think I am definitely in the top 2, but I'm probably, I'm going to be in the advanced group. I'm sure of it. So we do another run and I was just solid, right? So I'm like, this is great. So then the 2 instructors have to talk code to each other so they figure out what they're doing because they're talking in front of us. So one instructor goes, I think we see clear division. And I'm like, oh. And the other instructor says, yes, we do. And then instructor A says, I think we have a 3-1 situation. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm number 1. I'm like so advanced that I will probably be the person who is probably going to be in my own group because of how well I do, right? So then the other guy goes, yes, we definitely have a 3-1 situation. And he goes, so we have a high group and a low group. And the other says, yes. And then I exclaim, just for the record, your naming conventions are terrible. Like it's like red group, blue group, whatever. Doesn't matter. And the guy says, okay, I'm going to go ahead and take the low group. And he turns around and points to me and he says, it's you and me together, which cracked me up because that means I was actually the worst of the four. And I just started laughing because that is so me to sit there and think I'm probably better than I am. And so I was really, it just made me chuckle. It made me laugh, right? I crack up sometimes when I'm overly confident. Then these two other people who are late, which kind of is irritating because the lesson starts at a certain time, they don't even know how to put their boot in the ski. Not that that's a bad thing, it's just a different level of thing. And then all of a sudden my brain is going like, I'm going to be with these two because I'm a smaller group and I'm the low one. And then they didn't even want to ride up the lift. They wanted to take up the magic carpet, which I think is like a conveyor belt designed for people who don't want to take lifts. And I'm like, I'm pretty good at doing the lift. Anyway, so I turned to look at the guy, my instructor, and he said, I'm going to move you to the other group. And I thanked him. I was appreciative for it and stuff. And I was still confident. I didn't worry that I was the last of the four. My mindset went to, I'm going to get most improved, right? I'm going to really pay attention to this lesson. We worked a lot on your hands and where they point down the mountain and all that kind of thing so that you can get down easier, etc. And I have to say, we didn't have an award ceremony at the end to get most improved, but in my mind, that's where I focused my time, my energy, and I really felt that I did well with it. We even went down a blue and there were some moguls and stuff. So it was just a very, very interesting thing. So I do like approaching things with confidence. And then if something happens to it, pivot on what's going to build my confidence going forward.
I think what you're just saying though, Jen, is to be open.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. Just be open. It's like, okay, wait, I wasn't where I thought I was going to be, but so what? Now what? Right? It doesn't matter.
Exactly. So it's very fun. And I have to say, I'm in love with skiing and I'm excited to see where things go the rest of the season, next year, all of those kinds of good things. And one of my favorite things in life is taking up new activities and then just being all in it and having a good time with it.
Great. Because now you get to be all in golf for a week.
Yes, we are moving from the mountains to North Carolina, not moving to, but we're changing locations. And we're going to be in North Carolina doing some golf, and I'm sure I will have lessons from the green. Which
Yes, you will.
ironically is another place I'm overly confident.
Insanely overconfident. If there's
Right?
a 400-yard par four, sometimes Jen thinks the ball is actually in the hole.
Like if I can't find it because it really went in the trees, I'm like, maybe it's in the hole. And yeah. So anyway, it's a fun way to live. All right, guys, take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Kickstart Your Edge Play to Win Leadership Podcast.
Craving more? Of course you are.
Check out our website at kickstartyouredge.com,
where we fire you up, fan the flames of your competitive edge culture, and ignite your tenacious pursuit of an all-out play-to-win mindset.